Well, flip my toboggan. This is Lumen is Listening, a recap podcast about Severance, the only good TV show. I'm Matt S. And as we mentioned last week, my coworker down on the severed floor, Laci R, her outie is currently on an elongated cruise voyage. At least that's what management tells me. So they have sent me a replacement in the form of the very capable John D. Hello, John D. Welcome to the show.
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm splendid. Just doing really good down here on the severed floor. We now, everybody watching on YouTube, you won't be able to see this, but whenever the camera is not on us, we are huffing ether out of a paper bag. I want to encourage everybody, if you're listening to this on the Lumen is Listening podcast feed, please leave us a review on Apple Podcast, and then go ahead and subscribe to Load Bearing Beams. That's our main podcast feed. Deep dives into movies every week, a different movie every week. This week we did Rob Zombie's movie, The Devil's Rejects. If that's your thing, if you like Rob Zombie, or if you don't like Rob Zombie, because we also we were mixed on that movie. Anyway, this is Sweet Vitriol, episode 8 of season 2 of Severance, and this episode was directed by Ben Stiller, written by Adam County and K.C. Perry. I didn't recognize these names. Adam County, I saw he has credits on Silicon Valley, Community, The Mindy Project Vice Principals, and then K.C. Perry, he's written for Paper Girls and the CW show The Originals. But that's who wrote the episode. This episode, the episode where you knew it was coming. Hey, let's follow Miss Cobel and nobody else from this show for a whole episode and see what she's up to. John, what are your big picture thoughts? John, even though John and I just met, my understanding is he's a very positive person. He wants to celebrate the movies and the shows that he watches, always looking for the good. But I do not share that optimism, so I'm happy to say I think this episode sucks shit. But you tell me, what do you think about this episode, big picture?
I think it wasn't great. Definitely not. I found stuff to enjoy in it. I think it was a fun character. The guy that Miss Cobel meets up with. I do wonder though why management wanted us to watch my former boss going to some random village, and also I didn't need to see my former boss.
Yeah, you were telling me about this. Your boss, Miss Cobel, was indeed your boss at the.
Yes. At Utica, Miss Cobel used to be my boss in Austin. She was really trying to force a very weird motherly relationship with me, and I really don't know why management wanted us to see this person who's now a former employee making out with someone.
They're always playing these mind games on us, you know? They cut her loose and then they're like, no, you still have to, she'll be with you forever. When I close my eyes at night, I see Miss Cobel talking to me. You know, if you are into a mother-son relationship with your boss, Patricia Arquette, I don't blame you. I don't blame when Hampton, the character that she meets in at the diner, goes in for a little kiss. I was like, I mean, yeah, I would too. But
I have no problem with that either. I personally am very happy with a mommy relationship, but I don't like so much the idea of it being forced upon me by my boss.
Yeah, you need the choice. The consent is the important part. Yes. But what else did you think about the episode?
I think it was a very boring episode because it's not following the things that I'm interested in, and it's following a character that I do not like Ike very much, to be honest.
Well, when you say you don't like her, like you don't find her an interesting character?
I don't find her nearly as interesting as some of the other characters. I don't think that Patricia Arquette is doing bad at acting or anything. It's just don't find her nearly as interesting as the other characters, to be honest.
Yeah, it's so I do love this performance, but I actually kind of see what you're saying, and I've thought like this Patricia Arquette's only been in 2 episodes this season so far, and it's like the show doesn't really miss her because I think Mr. Milchick is such a good character, is such a great character, and Tremel Tillman is such an interesting performance that it's like, well, we already have the sort of the weirdo boss looking over our shoulders, but you knew she was lurking there in the background. But yeah, we come to this. The reason we love this show is we like seeing all of our friends being together. And this is just the thing that TV shows like to do, where they just, hey, let's follow one character in a new environment, interacting with other actors who aren't regulars on the show.
And I really don't know, honestly, where they what they want us to think of this character. Do they want us to think she's a good person? Do they not? It feels like it kind of changes is all the time.
Well, I mean, that's so I find that to be sort of the only interesting thing to grab onto in the episode was the journey she's going on with Lumen. It's like, not that she's having a moral crisis. Hey, I'm participating in this horrible thing that this company's doing. What makes her mad about the company is that they're screwing her out of like profits and respect. Yeah. But that is often how whistleblowers happen. Like, there's no perfect. If she ends up like blowing the lid off this whole thing, you know, if she did it for profit, I don't know. Well, we'll get into all of that, but it's just, let me ask you, me and Laci talk about this all the time. The tension in the show between a really interesting sci-fi show and a very interesting human story, and then the version of the show that's like the spot all the Easter eggs and spot all the clues. Are you somebody who likes to like freeze frame and look at everything that's on screen?
No, I don't usually do that at I like Easter eggs. Like I like breakdowns for different shows, but it's not. But I'm not particularly looking for that. I do find the mystery in this show interesting, but mainly, and this is with any show I watch, the characters are what I find most interesting. And even if there's no mystery, I will always, if I have to choose, it was between good characters and a good story, I will choose the good characters every time.
Yeah, and she is a good character, but I feel like this is last episode, Chikai Bardo was my least favorite episode of the season so far, and this one just doubled down on all the things I found frustrating, which is the show just deliberately withholding information from you. And I said this last week, I'll say it again. The reason that a story should withhold information from you is if it's also not available to the character. But the character that you're following in this episode knows everything that's going on and just won't tell you. And it's like, you can figure out a lot by watching this episode. Like, I'm not talking about like, is that woman her sister or not? Or what's the deal with this town? Like, you can figure it all out from context clues. But just the very basic thing of, what is this thing she's going and looking for? I mean, I guess it tells you, but it's just like, so the show has been deliberately withholding information to tease out this mystery. And that's the thing that I'm getting frustrated with. It's not, that's not what I come to the show for. I know lots of people like that about the show and want to solve everything, but that's less interesting to me than the sort of political commentary and a show about really good characters and just seeing great actors interacting with each other. And, you know, like, but even like, I feel like the show knows this is an episode that's going to frustrate you because it's the shortest episode of the show by far. It's like 35 minutes, excluding credits. And then at the end of the episode, once Mark calls and you hear his voice and suddenly the music's playing, the show is like, yeah, we know this is what you actually want to see. Because what did we even learn about in this episode? We're like, oh, she invented Severance. Who gives a shit? But you know, to give the show credit, I mean, this is one of the most expensive seasons of television in history, which was great. Like, when I heard that, I was like, how could that be possible? But I've seen the season now, and they went to film the retreat episode, like in the mountains, and then here they went to Newfoundland in Canada to film, and it's like, yeah, that's expensive to do. I'm grateful that they're doing it. I'm grateful that they're putting the money on the screen. They're giving the show the budget and the time to go do things like go film in this remote part of Canada. So there's that. Hey, I'm glad about that.
So for this review, I finally decided to get Apple TV Plus, which, you know, upon getting it, the first thing I noticed is about it is they really kind of put a lot of other streaming services to shame with how much content they put out and high quality content they put out versus like, say something like Disney Plus. You get one thing that they'll put one big thing at a time, and it's and there'll even be months of time where there's no big thing coming out at all. Versus is Apple TV Plus, there's 6 things coming out each week.
Well, yeah, I feel like all you hear about Disney Plus now is like, hey, quietly, we're canceling that show. We've already sunk $100 million into a Tiana show, but we're not moving forward with that.
That, and it really annoys me because if any other streaming service put out as little content as what Disney Plus does, everybody would be pissed. But with Disney Plus, us, because like they don't because us. They're not a fan of of the shows that Disney Plus putting out or some people aren't. They're like, oh, they're Marvel and Disney. They're putting out too much content. I'm like, I paid for this streaming service. I want to have a lot of content.
That's fair. I think Disney realized like, hey, as long as there's middle-aged people like Matt S who just need to watch The Simpsons before bed, and he will pay the $20 a month for that, and then kids worldwide need to watch Bluey and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. We don't have to make anything new. But Apple is not at that stage. I believe they will definitely get there. They will definitely get to the point where they're like, why are we greenlighting so many things? Of course, Apple, money is imaginary to all these companies. They have so much money, but Apple has way more money than any other company, so they can just throw it into the content vacuum.
As soon as you go on the front page of Apple TV Plus, everything is being promoted. It's not, and even small shows I've never heard of before will pop up on the main screen. I mean, that's what a streaming service should be doing. It shouldn't be only promoting their biggest shows.
Yeah. Well, I think what's different about them is they don't have a library. So it's got to be all new stuff and stuff that they develop in-house. But I agree, they do a good job of promoting all their stuff. Like, they make sure you know about all of it.
I had never heard of Berlin ER before, and but it's on their front page, and I'm like, and even though it's not a show I'm interested in, I like that they're willing to try with marketing for their for even their smaller shows, because like, if you don't try with marketing for your stuff that is not the big IP stuff, then it's obviously not going to do well.
It's a novel idea. Hey, tell people about your stuff, make them aware, because guess what? They're not aware. But you heard it from us. Check out Apple TV Plus. Use promo code LuminizListening. Apple is. I feel like I should watch Silo and From All Mankind. Some of the other offerings that they have.
Last night when I got it, I watched the new episode of Severance, and then I started Mythic Quest because I knew I was probably going to enjoy that, since I enjoy Rob McElhenney on It's Always Sunny.
And did you like it?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've seen the first 2 seasons. I don't know. Lacey and I start a million shows and then fall off for whatever reason. We don't even stop liking it. We're just like a cat that sees a laser pointer on the wall. We're like, what's over there? Yeah. Let's talk about the episode, which, right away, back in episode 3, I believe there was a street sign that said Salt's Neck. And that was when I was like, this show takes place in a simulation because the simulation is going to end here. Now, I believe I'm wrong about that, but I meant it more metaphorically. This world is so controlled by these companies. It's like they live in a simulation. I'm not wrong. Anyway,
basically real life.
Well, that's the thing. That's like the lesson of the Matrix, of the Matrix series, is like, hey, your life, you're not in control of your life. It doesn't matter that we don't live in a simulation. It's just like there's a handful of companies that control everything, and you don't have any actual choices. And I feel like this show's playing in a similar sandbox. But like, right away we open by looking over a cliff at some rocks in the ocean, and then it pulls out, shows this landscape, which is just very different from what we've seen before. So right away, this is going to be a different episode. The show never deliberately it's like deliberately not set in any specific location. Whenever you see on screen, like Kier, like the city Kier, comma, and then it would say what the state is. It says PE, which is not a real state. But the show is filmed in upstate New York, but clearly this is not upstate New York because it's water with ice in it and mountains and stuff. And I thought, is this like maritime Canada? Indeed it is. It is Bona Vista, a small town in Newfoundland. And there's a car that we're tracking. And it's Miss Cobel, making only her third appearance this season. She's going into Salt's Neck. But what is she up to? And this town of Salt's Neck, this is right away, you're like, okay, this is a town in immense decline. We see lots of shots of dilapidated buildings and factories, and the only people seem to be huffing inhalants out of paper bags. This town is not going, things are not going great here. And then Miss Cobel is brushing her teeth on the side of the road and observes a man inhaling a substance out of a bag. And she has like this look of sort of amused contempt for him, I guess. I mean, at this point in the episode, did you like clock? I bet this is like a Lumen factory town, or what were you thinking at this point?
I wasn't sure what exactly to think Ink was going on. I was just like, honestly, I was thinking she was like going into hiding or something. So she was going to a town off the grid or something.
Yeah, because like when we last left her in episode 3, she was gonna go into the Lumen building and like, you know, talk terms with Helly, with outie Helly, but then she got scared because she saw very intimidating Mr. Drummond and then turned around and ran away. Wisely, like, yeah, they probably would have just shot you in the back of the head or whatever. So yeah, and there was that thing where she has the breathing tube in her car, and somebody commented on one of my videos saying that she had that in her shrine in the first season, but you can look closely at it and see that it belongs to her mother. I don't know how they figured that out, but she's on some sort of breathing tube mission in this episode.
We talked about before, or how you think that she could be like a whistleblower in the future for this company. I actually think that the fact that she was that she had that shrine tells us that she's not going to be, because I don't think she would be willing to let the public know all of their secrets. I think she's using this to try and get to the top of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is what I mean. At the end of the episode, when Mark starts talking to her, I was like, "Oh no, don't do that! Don't do that, you idiot! You fucking idiot!"
I don't even know if it's so much being about power per se, but being about being closer to Kier.
I don't know. I can't get a sense of like where she stands in like, is she a true believer? Because, you know, we see her with her sister, and her sister seems to be like way more of a true believer in this whole cult of Kier thing. And like this whole time we've been talking about the show, I've pointed out like, you see like the middle managers like Cobel and Milchick are the ones who seem to really take the Kier mythology stuff seriously. But I bet if you got to see like the actual like executives, the actual members of the family, they would tell you this is all bullshit. This is just stuff we tell people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I think, it seems a little more complicated than that. Like she tore down the shrine, but it seems like it's still so deeply within her. And as we see in this episode, like
I'm thinking it's maybe sort of a situation like somebody who has fallen away from the faith, and she is hoping that by getting back into to Lumen and forcing them to put her at the top, that she'll be closer to Kier again, and thus not being someone who's fallen away from the faith.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does make sense. I guess my whole thing with this cult of Kier is, what I find interesting about this company is that aside from it having this miraculous technology, that it's a company like any other. If you then throw in this thing where it's like, well, it's also a religion, that's the part where I get kind of annoyed. It's like if you're watching something like Captain America: The Winter Soldier, where SHIELD is illegally spying on American citizens, but then it turns out, well, it's like evil members of Hydra had infiltrated SHIELD. And then I feel like that's always a cop-out. Like, I'd rather it just be the normal level of evil that companies are than them also having this religion that they belong to. But
Makes sense.
it's interesting. I mean, and I feel like it's just like sort of heightening of companies that have sort of weird specific corporate cultures. But you see in this episode, the reason this exists at all, this whole belief about Kier, is like they're using it it's all about exploitation. They're using it so that if you come up with the great invention, hey, Kier wouldn't want you to take credit for that. Don't take credit for that. That's ours. That's all for ourselves.
Now, this episode, I think would have been much more interesting if instead of having her or going to this house and finding her designs at this house, they had us go into the old Lumen factory, and maybe there are still people working there, and we see see depressed, severed employees. I think that could be interesting.
It would be interesting to see like old depressed severed people. But it's like for my sense of this is what Lumen used to be. They made ether, and like lots of towns in the United States and Canada, a factory went up, the town kind of thrived. The factory then left town, polluted the town, made people sick. The jobs went away, and then the population was just left there to fend for themselves, which is what we see in this when we go into this diner, the Drippy Pot Cafe, which is just a great name for a diner. And we just see a couple of like really old people, a woman with an oxygen tank named Rose, and she has kind of this flirtatious relationship with this male waiter who is played by James LaGrosse. And we'll find out later his name is Hampton. But it's like he has this sort of flirty relationship with her, and you can tell right away, okay, this is a guy, he's younger, he's young-ish. He's the guy who decided to stay behind and take care of the people of the town. So
this guy, do you think he is someone who also had lived in that house, or do you think he was basically the town drug dealer?
I don't think he lived in the house. I didn't get that sense. I think he and Cobel were friends, and maybe were lovers at a certain point. But this is a small town. I feel like everybody knows everybody, and everybody's in each other's business, and everything revolves around this company, Lumen. So also feels like everybody's spying on each other all the time. So everybody just knows what everybody's up to.
Yeah.
But I like that just from the performance, just in his interaction with this elderly woman, you can tell that like he still cares about this place and feels resentment for whatever Lumen did to this town. And this is a thing, obviously everybody knows this is a thing that really happens. There's, ghost towns all across the world. But I mean, I live in the United States. That's what I know. Go to towns where the factory left. I live in Louisiana. There's an area called Cancer Alley because of the pollution that the like asbestos plants basically left behind and left a generation of people to get mesothelioma and other kinds of cancers. It's just I've said the whole time, like Lumen is a vampire. Lumen is Dracula. And vampires not only suck the blood out of people, they extract all the resources out of the earth and then make it so that nothing can grow there again. And I feel like maybe this is like Transylvania, the Salt's Neck, and then the main town of the show, that's like London. That's when Dracula moves on to London. He's got to find new people to prey on. I mean, metaphorically. I'm not saying they're literal vampires, but
it could be.
They could be. That'd be an interesting twist. I'm also a vampire. That's why I sound like that.
I mean, have we seen any of the people from Lumen that they're like management out during the day?
No. So we don't know if they shimmer and glimmer in the sun like Edward Cullen. We've never seen them in mirrors. We've never seen them eat garlic. So there's something going on here. Also, why do they talk like that? Really makes you think. Yeah, Harmony Cobel enters the diner and eyes this guy Hampton. And she just, I like that she speaks for him. She's like, Harmony Cobel will flip my toboggan. they have a little sort of adversarial exchange, and she says, this town is older than I remember, frailer. And she's just like talking about a woman who's 2 feet away from her. And he says, yeah, well, the market readjustments from a few years ago and the fluctuating interest rates, there was a retrenchment from some of the core infrastructure investments. So he's like, again, he's this bitter guy. He's like, he's informed, but he's talking about sort of like the business reasons an industry would abandon a town. It's like, look, it's the forces of the market. We can't control it. It has nothing to do with us.
Which there's that, but also I don't think she's been to this town since she was a little kid. It's gonna seem old now to her.
Everyone's so much older now in the 50 years I've been away. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, I definitely don't look old myself.
Yeah. So she says to him, I need a favor, but not here. Meet me at the factory. And she walks out, and then he immediately follows, and gets in his truck. We see more of the shitty town, and now we see there's a Lumen sign on one of the buildings. Let's see. It says Keir Egan's Lumen Ether. Quote, there is a miracle cure for man. Ether, everybody, is a substance that used to have a medicinal purpose. They used it for surgeries. They used it for all kinds. Good for what ails you. That was like 150 years ago or so. But apparently this is how Lumen got its start. It's like how Nintendo, for a long time, what they did was they made playing cards, and then a small division of the company started making video games, and that took over, and that took off, and then became the whole company. It's sort of the Lumen story. But yeah, we see this old factory that has the Lumen logo on it, and this is where Cobel and Hampton have their little meeting where she's just like, I gotta go to Sissy's. You have to drive me because, they're following my car. And he says, she still lives by the 9. And this thing, the 9, will come up a few times in this episode, and it's just annoying me. Just again, the show throwing out sort of mythology and not explaining to you what it is. Do you get
the way it kind of seemed to me was it was more of this culty thing of because they said that when someone dies, if they're a true believer, they will go to the 9s.
Yeah.
So maybe that is the cure form of afterlife, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to know. I resent that the show's making me think about it. But he's like, she's a fucking pariah around here. Cause like the town is clearly turned on Lumen, and this wacko sissy still loves Lumen. So she's a pariah. And he's like, why should I help you? And she says, we were once chums. Old colleagues lift each other up. And he's like, colleagues, child fucking labor. And she like says like, well, look at this ether mill. Did you know that Keir met his wife Imogen here? And he says, was she hacking up a lung at the time? So yeah, I like this guy. This is wherever I work, I'm usually the person who hates the place I work for, and I'm talking shit about them to other people and making them uncomfortable. So I can really relate with Hampton right here. But we know she's going to help her. He's going to help her, and he does. So they go to Sissy's. Well, as they're driving, or we keep seeing that Cobel is getting phone calls from Devin, from Mark Scout's sister, which she doesn't answer. But they get to the house. So, John, can you tell us about Sissy, the character Sissy, who is played by Jane Alexander, who comes out screaming, "You are not welcome here."
She seems like a absolutely crazy lady who I'm not sure is supposed to be actually a sister to Esther, or if she's supposed to be a mother to Miss Cobel. I don't know. No, I feel like it's very confusing. She's very into Lumen still, though I think there was a little bit of near the end of the episode a glimmer in her eye that she's like that she could be seeing a little bit through all of this, and be when she had actually really suggested that, or I don't remember if she suggested or not, if it was something slightly different than that, out of like of Miss Cobel showing this all this stuff to the world until Miss Cobel says that that they told her that she would become an outcast if she tried doing that. And I kind of feel like actually feel like when she was trying to put it in the oven, she was actually trying to protect her from what might happen to her if she leaks all this out.
She could be like, hey, I'm the sister of the lady who invented Severance. I'm like one of the greatest lumen people there is, but then learns, gets reminded, like, they told me never seek glory for yourself. She's like, oh, right. The whole religion thing. Okay. Yeah, I could see that, because her whole deal, we see a plaque on the wall that identifies her as Celestine Sissy Cobel. So it's like, the show is annoying and not just saying she is her sister, but it's like, okay, so she is her sister, and this is the kind of like sister who's a lot older than you and like takes on the mother role.
So is there then 3 sisters, because I'm pretty sure they also said it was a sister, or the girl who had died.
Which girl is the
person who's we didn't see her actually in the episode, but they talked about how this person pulled out.
Well, they call her mother though. They talk about her as their mom.
Oh, okay.
So I really think this is a situation where you have a mother and then you have this daughter, and there's a big age gap between the girls, that the older sister like probably looks down on the mom and thinks she's not a fit mother. She doesn't believe in Kier enough. I'm going to take on the role of mother, of head of household here. Cause she certainly talks to her sister that way. Like, it was important that you were off getting your studies. That's what we wanted for you. And also seems, this is the kind of like, resents her sister, her little sister, for being talented and favored by the company in a way that she wasn't, when she's like the much truer believer.
I can't help but find whatever shows owes this, where they're like, a character is like, you weren't here, but then they said, I would have been if I were allowed to be here, I would have absolutely been here taking care of this person. Then the other person's like, oh, but you were supposed to be at this place instead. I'm like, you can't get mad at someone for not being there if you wanted them somewhere else.
But people do that though. That's people are complicated. They don't make sense. They don't. They're inconsistent. I think that's the thing that makes the most sense to me is I resent you for going away, even though I told you to go away.
Like, I'm not saying it was bad writing or anything. I just think it's funny to think about, because that side that happens a lot is like just so crazy to me whenever people say things like that. It's like, yeah, if I had the choice to help, obviously I would help, but I didn't.
And I think she means it. And I think that one of the tensions here is that Sissy like resents her sister for getting to go do like the apprenticeships and the fellowships and everything, because she didn't get to do those things. And she's like, well, it's important that you do those things. But she also resents her because she probably thinks like, you don't even appreciate them. You would have given it up to go be with your dying mother. That's lame. That's not what a good worker would do. I love that she says, Patricia Arquette is like, what have you done with my things? And Sissy says, sold to the poor. So, and we find out she's lying later, but just, I sold your things to the poor, not gave them away. I sold your bullshit. I sold your notebooks and trophies to the poor.
To be honest, I think she should be able to guess as this person might be lying pretty quickly from the secretive little building that's in the ground right next to there.
Yeah, and later in the episode when she's like, wait a minute, I know where it might be. It's like, boy, I wonder if it's in the hidden cellar full of garbage. Like maybe that would have been a good place to look first. But I kind of like that Cobel is not. Her mission is first, I need emotional closure with my dead mother. And then I'll take a nice little nap, and then I'll get down to finding my shit.
Yeah. Oh.
So I mean, we find out that Lumen corporate has gotten in contact with Sissy to try to find Harmony Cobel, and it's clear like Sissy would give up her sister in a second, probably, or at least that's what it seems like. But yeah, so Cobel goes looking through this house for whatever it is she's looking for, and she goes into Sissy's room, which has all kinds of Lumens memorabilia and shrines and totems and stuff, including these little figures these 4 figures. There's like a goat, there's a jester. I went back and watched the Waffle Party episode from season 1 and realized at the little weird Eyes Wide Shut waffle party that Dylan has to watch, each of the people is dressed up as one of these. So I'm sure there's lots of videos you can go watch breaking down what each of these mean, but I just think it's funny. I don't actually want to know.
The picture that they showed, that she has in that, which you can, and what you have up, you can see was that supposed to be like was that supposed to be someone from Lumen or Sighing? It kind of looked to me like Paul Rudd.
So it's this black and white photo of this guy.
Yes.
So that's Paul. So you're saying they've already hired Paul Rudd to play young Kieran.
Like it looked like a lot like Paul Rudd to me.
Okay.
Which I could absolutely see them casting him and signing like this.
You heard it here first. We are reporting exclusively that Paul Rudd has been cast as young Kieran.
I was just wondering if that was supposed to be someone we're supposed to know of, because I do not remember that photo ever before, even though I think we've seen photos of Egan before.
See, I like the idea that it would be Paul Rudd, because I feel like if we actually met this guy, he'd be kind of a bumbling doofus, and Paul Rudd could play that.
Then again, another actor who could play that is someone who is very involved in the show. The creator is Ben Stiller.
So he's not the creator. Dan Erickson is the creator, but
okay.
But yeah, he's the main director on the show.
But I really do hope at some point that we get some appearance of Ben Stiller in the show. So
he plays the voice of Kieran. He's made a couple of.
Okay.
Whenever you hear his voice, I feel like it'd be so distracting to see Ben Stiller on screen in this show. But he's a good actor. I mean, you'd get over it right away.
Oh yeah.
And he's a good director. It makes me feel like I should go back and watch some of the movies he's directed. I've been meaning to go back to Tropic Thunder, which he directed, which I remember being, aside from being a good comedy, just like a solid action movie. So Cobel, she goes looking through the house, finds the key in her sister's room, the key to her mother's room, because her mother's room is locked. And when she goes into the mother's room, the room is pretty sparse. There's just like an old hospital bed and an oxygen tank. And so Cobel takes that CPAP tube that she had from an earlier episode, attaches it to the oxygen machine, lies down in the bed and starts sucking through the tube and cries. And I was watching this with my 14-year-old last night. They were so revolted at this point. Just imagine how this smells. And she's just wailing and huffing her dead mother's essence.
Yeah. Maybe she did. Maybe she wasn't sleeping. Maybe she got knocked out by whatever her chemicals are now grown in, or bacteria is grown in this.
Maybe this is how she gets rich. She patents whatever weird substance has coagulated in there. This is a high that you can't even imagine that I just got from this oxygen tank. There you go. That's what's going to happen to her. But I think this is a good little human moment. And one thing that always goes on in the show is like, this job sucks. You don't want to be Harmony Cobel or Seth Milchick. Like, you have to devote all of your life to this company that it will cut you loose the second it's convenient, that won't give you credit or pay you, and it could never possibly pay you enough for your contributions, but then also just robs you of the ability to be a human being, to have connections with people And like, in my opinion, the only thing that actually matters about life is the connections we make to each other. She wasn't there to be there. She wasn't able to be there when her mother died. Hasn't allowed herself to mourn her mother properly in however long it's been since her mother dies. And this is like the only way she can do it, is to try to like sniff and inhale her mother's essence. So it's a very interesting scene. We hear her crying as we get a shot of ice out on the water, which then morphs back to the cliffside ocean shot we got earlier. And there's a very interesting thing that happens with the audio where her wails, like Patricia Arquette's crying, morphs into an instrumental sound that you hear in the score. I just thought that was really cool and really interesting. But then we see she has fallen asleep in this bed. The sun has gone down outside. And then Hampton comes back into the house, comes and gets her. And I think he is admirably non-angry here. Like, hey, you made me stay in my cold ass truck for like 5 hours while you took a little nap, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So he just sits down on the bed next to her, and he's like, "Hey, you want to get high?" And so he takes a big inhale of this ether. I mean, that's what we're supposed to figure that this is. And he asks her, and he hands it over to her, and she takes a little sniff, and she just goes, "Oh."
You know, if this guy has been using this stuff to get high for seemingly, I'm guessing, decades, you'd think he would his body would get used to it by now, and he wouldn't be coughing like crazy immediately after doing it.
He does really. This actor really sells it. He's like, "Oh, oh, oh." But you're right. Yeah,
that feels like sign that someone who's just recently started getting high would react.
Maybe this is like an abnormally large amount of ether he has just huffed. John and I are taking really small sniffs of our ether. We're not veterans like Hampton. But Cobel is like, "Oh, I haven't done that since I was 8 years old." And he's like, "You ready to man the vat for 10 hours? And she laughs. So like clearly like they literally were child laborers at this factory.
Oh, yeah.
And Laci said something like this, I think on our last episode or maybe the episode before that. And I said, they're speaking metaphorically. She wasn't literally like raised by Lumen, but it seems like she actually was. She was literally a child laborer in their factory.
I'm thinking it's not. It might not be so much that she was raised by Lumen the company, but simply raised by in a family that believed in this Lumen stuff and cure, and her family just decided, we'll throw you into Lumen's care.
And that's why the religion, or whatever you want to call it, whether it's a religion, a cult, or whatever, is so useful to them, because they can export these values and make it seem like this isn't about a corporation. This isn't about a for-profit company. This is about a set of beliefs. It's about a philosophy. It's about salvation of your soul. So our company can infiltrate every aspect of your life. And you can legitimately say, this family was raised by a company.
Which, you say like you want things to be normal kind of evil with these companies and shows. But I actually feel like there are probably companies in real life that would do this and have a cult like thing and going on with them. Then,
yeah. Oh yeah. And you a thing that you do in fiction is you just take a real thing and then heighten it to point out to criticize it. And I think that is what the show is doing here. It's just like they take it pretty far with this Lumen thing, but. Yeah, there are weird company cultures, and I've worked at places where my first day of work, I had to watch videos all day about the corporate culture, and it felt like I was getting inducted into a cult. So this is definitely a real thing. And then you meet all your coworkers, and you see people who are who are true believers in the company, and people are like, no, and they do the jack off motion when they talk about it. Mm-hmm. And I like that. I like seeing in this show the various ways people treat this whole thing. But I guess, yeah, I like it when it's just grounded in the normal kind of evil things that a company can do. Then they have a little kiss. And at this point, again, my 14-year-old was rioting at this point. Like, no, not on your mother's bed. No. But I honestly, I found it kind of touching. It is the most human moment that Harmony Cobel has had in the whole show. That she just had a little kiss with Mr. Hampton. But her sister is downstairs yelling at them to leave. Like, I guess we got to leave, but we haven't found what I'm looking for yet. What are you looking for? I won't tell you. But hey, why don't I go check in the secret room of mystery? Maybe we'll go check that room. Oh yeah, good idea. Let's go check there. So yeah, it turns out Sissy has not sold her sister's stuff to the poor. It's all here in this mystery room. She pulls out a yearbook. I love the names that Lumen has for things. This yearbook is called Myrtle Egan School for Girls Annual Reminiscences. Just the language that the Egans use. But I realized, like, Mr. Milchick a few episodes back was criticized for always using big flowery language, but it's like, but that's what this company does. He's doing literally what you do. But that's the thing companies do, is no. You can never actually do the right thing.
Yeah.
But we see she was like her high school valedictorian. She got to participate in the Jame Egan Wintertide Fellowship. We see a picture of her young, pictured with Jame Egan. Jame Egan is, I guess, Helly's father. And for a second, I was like, wait a minute. Are we going to find out Cobel is Helly's mom? I hope not. I certainly hope not.
Oh, God. I don't think that they would reveal something like that. Mainly just because if she were, I don't think she would have been the manager of just one random branch of Lumen. She would be up at the top, just like all the Helena and Egan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope that's not, because I think that would suck. That would be lame. But I did for 1 second I was like, wait, is this what we're gonna find out? I could certainly see that, like, maybe they had an affair, because she seems like she was close to Jame Egan, and then he took her idea for Severance and claimed it for his own. Because yeah, she opens up this notebook. We don't know what it means yet, but she has all these drawings and stuff. She takes it out and goes to talk to her sister. She's like, hey, I'm going, goodbye. Also, don't tell anyone I was here. And her sister's like, I would never bear false witness to a steward of the Egans. And Cobel, Harmony Cobel, is about to leave, but she's like, God damn it. Lumen destroyed this town. You don't owe them loyalty. And her sister says, there was no town before this factory. Which is always what they say. It's like, would you rather the town have never been here? Like, yeah, maybe. Yeah. If it doesn't actually give people anything lasting.
If the choice is whether have no town or have a town that abuses its residents, then yeah, no town.
Yeah. People can go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's pretty simple. And well, it's throughout history, there have been company towns, and they've never been good things.
They're good things for a while. Well, and even good is like questionable. Like, some people get jobs, and yeah, the economy gets stimulated, and then also often they poison and leave you with illnesses for the rest of your life. And then they can just leave it in a moment.
They're bad as well in the fact that just this company is just controlling every single aspect of your life. They could choose to pay you nothing and make a piece of meat be $100 a pound,
right?
And you have no say in the matter, because they are just controlling everything, because they own everything in the town.
Yeah, and even if they don't own it, like, they're so influential that they de facto own it. Like, I think that's what we saw in the last episode. Like, when they go to that fertility clinic, Laci disagreed with me, but I said, I don't think that's a literal Lumen clinic. I think everybody in this town is just like in their pocket.
But that clinic, I was actually, when I watched it, I didn't realize it was a fertility clinic. I was actually thinking it might have been an abortion clinic, and they were trying to, because of the failed pregnancy, they had to get something done on to fix her up and get the baby out.
No, Mark said that in the first season he said they went to fertility treatments, and then he's giving her fertility shots. That in the last episode I confess turned me on when he did that. I shouldn't have said that. Everybody forget that I said it. I shouldn't have just said it again. But yeah, that's the
everyone
thing.
at the Utica branch is going to know about this now.
Oh, God damn it. Not Utica. So what her sister then says to her is, and what about your own employee? Everything that you have, you owe back to the Egans as fealty. And Patricia Arquette, I love the way she just says fealty. Like, now lots of people wouldn't dress it up in this kind of old fashioned language, like this medieval language. But I think there are people who believe this, like who believe that you owe your employers things. But I'm here to tell you people, you don't owe your employers shit. They owe you. You do the job for them in exchange for the money that they pay you. It's a transaction, and very likely you are undervalued. So you should not do a good job while you're at your job is what I have to say. But yeah, you certainly do not owe them extensive loyalty, because they are not going to, that relationship only works one way. When Harmony starts like saying like, these are my designs, Severance, I invented Severance, these are my designs, base code, overtime contingency, Glasgow block, I did all of it. And her sister says, James Egan was the inventor. And then Sissy, I like that she puts on her glasses and starts going through the notebook, and she's like, oh, this is really good work. Okay. Why haven't you ever told me about this? And Patricia Arquette says, I was told Kier's knowledge is for all, that if I sought credit, I would be banished. So we see the bottom line of this whole Kier mythos. It is just about exploitation. And I think that what Severance, the TV show, is about more than anything is exploitation. And so everything is in service of how much can we exploit our workers and our customers? How much value can we extract from them?
You know, to be honest, she should have, Miss Cobel should have kind of broken her ties with them as soon as they originally told her that all those years ago, because and like stopped believing in the a religious side of this, because those two statements literally do not work together. Kier saying knowledge is for all, but then if you tell people about your knowledge, your something bad will happen to you. That should be a big warning sign.
That's a good point. Yeah, they are directly contradictory. Kier's knowledge is for all. Don't take any credit for it. Therefore, we'll take all the credit for it. Yeah, you're right. I mean, but she was brought up, and it is like a religion. You're too deep into it to be aware of how fucked up it is. Mm-hmm. But I mean, this is also a very old story. You know, I think the world you and I are both familiar with, like movies and TV and comic books. There's tons of stories about this. Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko getting screwed out of, but because they created all these super profitable characters for Marvel, but they were working as employees. Their works were considered works for hire. So it's like, well, what are you talking about? We paid you a paycheck, and we own everything that you invented while you were working for us. Iwerks, who worked with Walt Disney, co-created Mickey Mouse. Disney fired him. He, obviously wasn't entitled to the billions of dollars Mickey Mouse made. But yeah, it's just that idea. We pay you. Whatever you do while you're on our dime, we own that. And that is what is so enraging her. Not that she invented this evil thing, but she invented this evil thing, and they're not adequately compensating her for it. And at this point, Sissy attempts to throw the notebook into the furnace, but Harmony just pretty easily grabs it for her. And I love the way she says, "I hope you die as painfully as Mother did." Just a blunt thing to say. Her sister then confesses like, well, I didn't remove her breathing tube. It was our mother's. Our mother did that. It was her choice. She was a coward, though, more sick in the soul than in the body, filled with malice and resentment. And you're just like her. You're just a weed. But Hampton is out. He's like, hey, I'm still here, and someone's coming. You need to leave. So he gives her his truck. He is. I mean, this guy is. He is still floating on the high of the ether and the kiss. Like, he will do anything she says. Yeah, I'll give you my truck. Whatever.
Yeah. Why didn't you just take him with
I know. Go take him to a hotel.
Yeah, like
Go get high and have sex. That'd be fun.
What? I imagine whoever is coming is probably gonna do unimaginable horrors to him because she left him, and I'm like, why would you leave this guy?
Just take him.
He's gonna probably get tortured now.
I know, but he's like he's like having his badass hero moment because he says, "Come and tame these tempers, assholes." I think he's been waiting. He's been waiting for this moment to finally tell a bunch of big tough guys, tell them off, and then they beat the shit out of him or throw him into the bay. I don't know. Anyway, Cobel is driving off in the truck, and this time she's getting a call from Devin. She answers, and Devin's like, "Hey, Miss Cobel, Mark has been reintegrating." And Cobel says, "Ragabi? She hasn't killed him yet? Is Mark here with you? Put him on." So Mark takes the phone, and Cobel's like, "Tell me everything." And now Firewoman by The Cult is playing. And again, I said this earlier, but this is the show being like, yeah, I know. We know that you didn't want to watch this episode. We didn't even really want to make it, but we'll get back to the story now that you like. My kid said at this point, well, now I like Miss Cobel. And I had to correct my child. I was like, no, she's an evil person. Mark should not trust her. No one should trust her. And I'll take back what you said and repent before the 9. But yeah, I mean, she's just like using this as leverage to either just to get restored to her job, or like you said, John, get a nice little promotion, get kicked up to the board. So that's the episode, the shortest episode of Severance. John, before we close with our final thoughts, I wanted to I have a question for you. You said that you have a take about innies that you think is a little different from what Laci and I think.
Yeah. So I think you guys' take on them seems to be like that they really are the same people as the outies, which I don't feel like that at all. I don't think that. Maybe I just misunderstood what you guys are saying. But I think they are very clearly very different people, and they're very and the end goal of this show should not be that them and their outies become one again, and because they are valid themselves, just like someone with the ID, all of the people, I guess, as inside them are all valid and very fully formed people.
I've always taken the position that they are their own human beings. They have whatever rights we believe human beings have. They are entitled to them. The question is, what do you do about them? And you bring up DID, and that's an interesting comparison. I'm actually reading Stephen King's series, the Dark Tower, which has a character with DID, and it's actually examining this kind of exact same question. Like, what do we owe the different personalities? And its solution is kind of reintegration. They all come together and share this person.
I think that is not like the end goal for someone with the ID is to come to terms. The different people inside of someone's body come to terms with each other, and I would say like basically give each other times where one can be out at one time, then another can be out, and they don't and they're respecting each other. They're not so much they have to become one. I think actually where this show is probably going is that because we know that not only can Lumen basically create DID within these people with the innies and outies, but also they can create clones, because we saw in the retreat episode they had these clones of them, and I'm guessing what will end up happening is they'll end up the innies will be able to get their own bodies, eyes, and somehow they're going to be able to pull the consciousness of the innie into a clone body.
I don't know that those are clones. But I guess it remains to be seen.
That's what it seemed to me. I was thinking that they thinking that would be also why they would be getting all these different DNA things, like the blood, the poop and the pee, and the from people, was because they're trying to create a clones of them as well.
I think that whatever happens to the characters and to the innies, it's not going to be good. That's my only prediction. Yeah. It will be bad.
Because you were, and the big thing that made me think you guys were thinking that they may be the same. Is like you guys are saying, like, we have to choose between whether the thinking end goal for or Mark is Helly, or it's his Audie's for wife. I don't think that there's that those are one or the other, because I think that they're the person that that the innie and the Audis are attracted to are just completely different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that. But what's interesting about the show is it gives you different characters who have different takes on that question. Mark keeps, whether he believes it or not, will make the case that or at least earlier did make the case that he and his Audie are the same person. And he did it with talking about Irv. He's like, Irv isn't dead. Irv just isn't here anymore. And I think he might not have really believed that, but like Helly clearly believes they are different people. My Audie is a different person from me.
I think with the Irving thing wasn't so much in thinking that that him and his Audie are the same, and more so that that the Irv they know is not there, but not necessarily that they are the same person. It's just basically right now the Irv they know is asleep, aping away, and that was So I think it's so interesting. You guys talked about how with Christopher Walken's character of him of the possibility of him going to heaven or hell. I absolutely think it would be that either one would go to one and the other would go to the other if one of them is bad. And I think that's the thing that his husband cannot seem to understand, is that it is going to be a completely different person with him in heaven. It's not going to be just a slightly different version. It's going to be something completely different.
Why I liked that episode, Attila, episode 6, where they have the heaven and hell conversation, is it reflects actual tensions that people who believe in heaven and hell, and I don't believe in heaven or hell, I'm an atheist, but I did at a certain point, but what I was never clear on, and it's a question that drives people crazy, is what part of me is going to the afterlife? What does a soul even mean? Does it have my memories? Mm-hmm. Is it me right now, or is it me at a certain point in my life? Is it me all the time? Will I change throughout my life? If I get everything if I get eternal peace and paradise, like, what does that even mean? Because I like different things at different times. And I like that the show's sort of grappling with that, because you have Bert's husband who is like, I'll get a version of you in heaven and that's good enough. But John, like you said, but he's not getting a version of his husband. He's getting a totally different person.
Yeah. I think with questions like you had of that, it's like that. I also was someone who used to believe in God and used to believe in heaven and hell. I think whenever you get that complex of a question, none of the people that you try to ask people who are supposed to know about all these things, they never have an answer for you.
No. Whether they can, the question of like what to do with innies, you bring up a very interesting point about like, well, they need to come up with some sort of power sharing arrangement. You get the body from this time and I get the body from that time. The problem is this involves having to rely on this evil company Lumen to make it happen.
Yeah.
Which is why it seems to me like integration is probably the only thing that you can actually do.
Just that, I hate the idea of integration though, because you're just killing the innie then, and it seems like and I don't think the innie deserves that. So it really is a hard thing. I think they have to they really have to figure out a way that the innies and outies can talk to each other, and that is what and. I feel like if you can figure out a way to create basically DID in someone's mind, you can probably figure out a way to create a way for them to talk to each other in the mind.
Yeah, of course you could. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. And I think that in the reality of the show, even though they had that Lutheran minister who said that innies have their own distinct souls, it's clear that the like legal position in the show is they are the same person. Your innie has no individual rights. Your innie and your outie are the same person. That's the only way this actually works for them. Otherwise, it is just slavery. You're just enslaving people. Which obviously they are. That is what they're doing. They're enslaving these people. They're creating them and then enslaving them. Yeah. But the legal system doesn't view it that way in this show.
One thing in that they got into a little bit in season 1 that they haven't got into at all in season 2 that I found really interesting in season 1 is all of the protesting that happened because of the moral implications of the severance procedure. They haven't gone into that at all in season 2.
That's true. Yeah. I wonder. I don't think the show has forgotten about it because they had Bert say that he had like paint thrown on him by the protesters. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back. But you're right. That was a much bigger part of the first season.
I found that very interesting because just like you guys, the moral aspect of this is the most interesting thing to me. Anything I watch, that is the most is one of the most interesting thing to me. It's like, what are the morals of this thing? I think, like I was reviewing on my podcast asked Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind on last month, and that was something that I talked about during that, and I was like, I'm not trying to say that this is bad writing or anything. I just think it's very interesting to talk about what are the morals of these procedures and these scientific procedures or science fiction procedures. I mean,
yeah. And it's kind of like for the outies who undergo the procedure, it is like choosing to have a child. And then what do you owe the child? Because you made the decision to bring the child into the world. Now you have some culpability, you have some responsibility to give them a life, the life that human beings are owed and the dignity that human beings are owed.
I think with the Cobel versus Maccabi sort of thing, I actually kind of think that that is sort of a sign where Maccabi Ragabi, okay, sorry. Ragabi, I think she believes they're one person, so she's fine with doing this reintegration process. I don't think Cobel does, and that's why she's like that'll kill him. I think she means that'll kill the innie.
I don't agree. She strikes me as someone who's never thought about the moral implications of any of this.
I think that she, I don't think it's so much the morals. I think it's she's grown to care about both Marks, and she doesn't want anything bad to happen to either of them.
I wouldn't be surprised if we come to see that. Yeah, she does. It'd be interesting just get her take on this whole thing.
Because she definitely seems like she created a relationship where she feels she cares about Mark.
It'd be interesting if we could get some insight into how she feels about about all of this, but she's always the way Arquette has played the character, the way the character's written, is as sort of a corporate person who is not thinking about the question of what are we actually doing here. It's just do the job in front of you.
Yeah, I think there is, if anything, it is only the possibility of caring for this person. She's not thinking about the moral thing of it at all. She's just thinking of it from a personal standpoint. And she has multiple facets. Both she cares about this person, but also she does want to be higher in this company, even though she does understand that they are doing bad things.
Yeah. You have brought up a very interesting thing that I hadn't considered, John, this idea that that integrating it's kind of like killing both the outie and the innie. Like, how do you define a person? A person is I'm the collection of my memories and everything else, and my mind and my body. Well, if now I'm sharing my body with another consciousness, I'm not really me anymore. I'm two me's. So it's interesting. You're kind of killing both versions of the person.
Oh yeah.
All right. Final thoughts on this episode, John, and a letter grade for Sweet Vitriol.
I think I'm excited to go back to our normal kinds of episodes. This episode, it's all right. Nothing amazing. I think I'd give it like a 6 out of 10.
Translate that to an A, B, C, D, F.
Oh, okay.
We're back in school.
C.
Okay, a C. So you're not excited for next week's episode that's only going to be about Christopher Walken going on vacation with his husband?
I hope that's not what
they finally go to Milwaukee, Burt and Fields. Honestly, I would enjoy that.
Okay. I was assuming that this season was going to be just like last season. It'd be 9 episodes, but it seems like it might end up being 10.
It's 10. That's been announced. Yeah, there's 2 more.
So that's I was thinking we were like right at the end, but I guess we're not.
Oh, that would have. I would if I thought this was the second to last eepisode of the season, I'd have canceled my Apple TV subscription, even though it's such a great value. Everybody. I dislike this episode. I like Patricia Arquette, and I think that Ben Stiller does a good job directing it. I think that this script is bad, and it indulges in the things that I dislike about the show, which is making it a puzzle to solve. I don't think that's an interesting way to tell a story, is to put up a puzzle for us, the viewers, and all the smart people on Reddit and YouTube. And guys, you are so smart. You're figuring out so much stuff. I have so much admiration for you. Yeah, I like Patricia Arquette's performance in here. She gets to show a side of her that we don't normally see, but this episode feels like we're getting on a treadmill and we're getting a good cardio workout for 35 minutes in, and then we're back to the regular show. And I don't give a shit that she invented Severance. Like, good for you. They'll pay you. They'll give you a bonus probably and restore you to your job. Just dislike. This is why. I think movies are way better than TV, and episodes like this are one of the reasons. Like, you will never in a movie be forced to spend 45 minutes on a diversion. I give this a C-. This is my least favorite episode of the show. But that's that. And we wash our hands of this episode. Sweet Vitriol. John, tell everybody about the Gamma Analysis, your podcast.
Yes, I host Semester Presents the Gamma Analysis. It is a movie review podcast, just like Low Bearing Beams aims. I review a lot of geeky themed films with a it's particularly themed after the Hulk, and I'd like to do a lot of Hulk related stuff on there. Yeah. And I'm going to be within the next few weeks releasing a silly sort of awards episode, which is going to be fun. It's not trying to replace the Oscars or anything like that. It's just,
but God willing, it will.
I think it's just I was like, this will be fun to do. So I was like I'm gonna be awarding a different categories for films in 2024, and they're extremely goofy categories, so you can keep on the lookout for that. And I also do short form content on both TikTok and YouTube. which TikTok is actually where I met people from Load Bearing Beams. They're awesome people, so I'm always so glad when you guys want to have me on for anything.
Let me ask you this. Well, first, everybody, John is on Twitter at Smash Trivia, right? Smash Trivia is your Twitter handle.
Yeah, I think Smash Trivia John.
Oh, okay. Well, you can vote on his awards there. After you're done with that, tag John and then tag me, Matt Stokes 9, and tell us which movie you'd like to be remade with Muppets and which Muppets would play which characters. And I look forward to seeing that. And your most recent episode of the show was on Secretary. This is the James Spader, Maggie Gyllenhaal BDSM movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think I had some. I've had one episode since then, but and it was one on the monkey.
Right.
But yeah.
What'd you think of the monkey?
I loved the monkey. It was so much fun.
Okay, I'm excited to see it. From the director of Longlegs, and I've read Stephen King's almost everything Stephen King's written. I like the short story The Monkey. But anyway, this episode has gone very long. Want to tell everybody again, please subscribe to Load Bearing Beams. We've found a lot of new listeners because of this Severance show, and I thank you all for that. Laci will be back with us next week. We might also record a bonus thing when Laci gets back. Laci is so angry that she didn't get to watch Severance and that she's doesn't know what. And it's been hard for me not to text her to be like, oh, get ready for this episode. It sucks. But we'll be hearing from her soon, I believe. What else? We have a Patreon, patreon.com/loadbearingbeams. This month we're covering the Royal Tenenbaums on Patreon to honor Gene Hackman, my favorite actor. Rest in peace. And that's it. Check out Apple TV Plus. It's the best value, the best content you'll find on the web.
Hey, one last thing. I was, I was told by management that I needed to check out some previous episodes before coming on, and I learned about a very specific quality that I needed to have at the very end of last episode as being a replacement, which is being as hot as helly. Did I successfully do that, Lumen?
Exceeded expectations. That's what I'm going to say in my employee evaluation. I give you 5 stars. Great service. Thank you for doing this, John. Good talking to you as always. And to you out there, I say, in case we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.